I'm waiting for my light. And there's my light. My cue to begin. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church on this lovely day. It is a nice day today. And I know we had a real nice night last night at the auction. I think that there were a lot of you here. I can't really see that far without my glasses on, but there were a lot of you here. And I think we had a good time, didn't we? Yes, very nice. I don't think Tinika's here this morning, which is understandable. Yeah, she's resting or whatever. So we'll hear how things ended up, but it was a fun night at the very least. Just a couple of quick announcements this morning. We will have coffee outside in the gathering place after services, and the only thing I have to say is if you are still a little new around here and you'd like to get to know us a little bit better, there is a yellow card in the pew in front of you. You can fill in the yellow card and we will put you on our mailing list. And if if you'd like to talk to someone about something that's weighing on you, we have a peer ministry team here who are trained in that sort of thing, and you can tell them by their yellow name tags. And there's one here and one back there. Just walk up to them and introduce yourselves. And that's it for announcements this morning. Are we ready? Beautiful. Bring us into our worship this morning.
As we gather in community, we look within ourselves and to each other for strength, restoration, and inspiration, so that as we journey together, we catch the spark of the eternal Spirit, and from that spark, we light our chalice flame. Lighting the chalice flame symbolizes to all that the spirit of our congregation is strong and that our will to transform ourselves and the world is also strong. We light the flame with gratitude. We light the flame in memory of all who have gone before, in honor of all who are here now, and with joy for all who are yet to come. As Marilyn Rambo, the inimitable Marilyn Rambo, lights our chalice flame here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you joining us from home to light a candle or chalice of your own. Anastasia is a current seminarian at Meadville Lombard Theological School. Please join me in reading these words together as they appear on your screen. Love begets love, and it is love that lights our chalice. As we work to create beloved community, we welcome all who would join us in building a better world with more love, more justice, and more peace. We welcome all who would join us in growing in mind, heart, and spirit. We welcome all who would join us in tearing down systems of oppression of all kinds. We welcome all who would join their purposes to ours in a loving spirit of right relationship. Please join me in our welcoming. The words are on the screen. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. And now we have our presentation of this week in Unitarian Universalist history with MC Swearingen.
Entomologists tell us that pound for pound, most insect species contain more protein than beef does. I'm not asking you to eat insects. Similarly, every Sunday, we hear a story of someone in our denomination's history. And I have compared such individuals who are of great religious value to beef, a source of food value. But wait, where is most of UU history? Most of UU history is made by you and you and you and you and you and I as we buzz about our daily work and as we beef about things that need improvement. And then we work our principles into solutions. And just as insects are surprisingly valuable, so ordinary UU members acting on our principles make a valuable difference in history.
QMC. It is important that we acknowledge that our history is a shared and harmful one. Our congregation's buildings are situated on the home of the Karankawa and the Itakapa peoples who lived here for at least 2,000 years before European settlers arrived and nearly brought about their end. May we recognize, uplift, remember, and support Indigenous voices and communities in our work as a congregation. I would like to just briefly thank the choir. We put two different songs, we put two work songs in to the service this week. Both of these songs are labor-driven songs to celebrate May Day. So I hope you enjoy those songs. I gave them very little to go by, and they did a very good job with them. Thank you very much. Each time we are gathered, we hear the words from one of our 6 Unitarian sources. Today we hear the words of Eugene Debs. Eugene Debs ran for president several times as a socialist, and of course lost every time. The last time he ran, the 5th time, he ran from jail because he had been imprisoned for getting in the way of the machine. So here's a quote from Eugene Debs. I am opposed to a social order in which it is possible for one man who does absolutely nothing that is useful to amass a fortune of hundreds of millions of dollars, while millions of men and women who work all the days of their lives secure barely enough for a wretched existence. And now, with our chalices lit and our hearts and our minds centered, I invite you to help sing our first hymn. You can stand if you are able or willing and help us sing our first hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. We'll sing verses 1, 3, and 4.
Emerson collects an offering each week, like many other communities of faith, but our offering is not for our church, which is supported by the annual pledges of our members. We collect our Sunday offering to give to others, because we know that giving is both a transformative spiritual act and an important way to live our values. 75% of today's offering will go to our May's Share the Plate recipient, Texas UU Justice Ministry. Texas UU Justice Ministry advocates for public policies that reflect UU values and principles. They are the UU State Action Network. Most Texas UU churches are members of Texas UU. It organizes, facilitates, and supports activities such as rallies at the Texas capitals, lobbying legislators in person or electronically, UU the Vote, support for LGBTQ, transgender, and immigration rights. It is also closely collaborates with like-minded partners on social justice. The remaining 25% of today's offering will go to our wonderful community partner, Interfaith Ministries Meals on Wheels program, which uses our donated treasures to provide meals to thousands of Houston's homebound seniors each and every week. You can go to our webpage for online giving, put cash or a check in our offering basket, or mail a check to the church.
We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and family. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and family. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and family. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and family. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and family. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and family. I wanted more pay, but what I've got today is more than I bargained for. When I walk through that door, I bring home asbestosis, more silicosis, more round lung, black lung disease, more radiation. Hits the children before they really can conceive. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and family. We bring more than a paycheck to our loved ones and family. Well, now workers landing here, 'cause it's important that you know, with every job there is a fear that disease will take its toll. If not disease, then injury. Maybe not injury, then stress is gonna tie you up in knots. So we bring more, more, more,
And just so you know, that song was made popular and written by a group called Sweet Honey in the Rock. And one of the longest serving members of Sweet Honey in the Rock, and one of the songwriters of that song, is a Unitarian Universalist. And she's on her way to becoming a minister, like on the slowest possible path I think I've ever seen, but her name keeps popping up in things and then it goes away. She's so, that's to say, Bonwell. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew about that. I invite you now into a moment of calm, a moment of connection, a moment of just being in the room. Allow yourself the freedom, allow yourself the luxury, allow yourself the time to just connect yourself with what you're feeling, connect yourself with something greater than yourself, connect yourself with the rest of the room and everything you're feeling right now, and allow the universe to flow through you. Allow yourself to be the conduit that channels the universe for just a few minutes. I invite you now to bring yourselves back into this room, back into this community. Allow yourselves a moment to just re-enter, and we're going to hear another special song from our choir.
And it's go, boys, go, they'll time your every breath, and every day you're in this place, you're 2 days nearer death, but you go. Well, a process man am I, and I'm telling you no lie. I work and breathe among the fumes that spread across the sky. There's a thunder all around me, and there's poison in the air. There's a lousy smell that smacks of hell, and dust all in the air. And it's go, boys, go, They'll time your every breath. And every day you're in this place, you're 2 days nearer death. But you go. Well, I've worked among the spinners and I breathe the oily smoke. I've shoveled up the gypsum and it nigh on makes you choke. I've stood knee deep in cyanide, got sick with a caustic burn. Been working rough, I've seen enough to make your stomach turn. And it's go, boys, go. They'll time your every breath. And every day you're in this place, you're 2 days nearer death. But you go, boys, go. They'll time your every breath. And every day you're in this place, you're 2 days nearer death. But you go.
The words for our second reading today come from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., obviously, Martin Luther King, Jr. He delivered these words in December 1961 to the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, the AFL-CIO. History is a great teacher. Now, everyone knows that the labor movement did not diminish the strength of the nation, but enlarged it. By raising the living standard of millions, labor miraculously created a market for industry and lifted the whole nation to undreamed of levels of production. Those who attack labor forget these simple truths, but history remembers them.
Thank you, Stephen. So, I'd like to start this morning off with a question. Why are there pirates? Why is there a such thing as piracy? Pirates are bad people. We've all seen the movies. There are even laws against pirates, international laws against pirates. Pirates take what's not theirs and they can be violent in doing it, and we all agree, I think, that pirates are bad. Caribbean pirates took from the Spanish, who were shipping gold back to Spain. Most of those pirates were French, British, and even from the United States and Canada. And then there's the captain of all pirates, Robin Hood. Robin Hood was a thief in Nottingham and Sherwood Forest. Today, we have Somalis in West Africa stealing ships, entire ships, and there are Indonesians around Singapore doing the same thing. And we have the sneakiest of the pirates, the digital pirates, the silent pirates, the ones that are stealing things that you can't really put your hands on, like software and pictures and things like that. And then there's the real fancy ones that are holding entire companies' computer systems hostage until they get paid. But I'm not asking you what pirates are. I'm asking you why they exist. Piracy is not at all new. Piracy has gone all the way back that we know of to the ancient Greeks. The ancient Greeks considered piracy to be a noble profession. And that kind of made me stop, because I have a lot of respect for the ancient Greeks. They did kind of a lot of good stuff, right? Now, they weren't perfect, but they kind of did a lot of good stuff. And here they are thinking that piracy is a noble profession. What's up with that? Well, it wasn't always so. There was a guy named Draco who was the ruler of Greece for a long time, and we get from his name Draconian. So you can imagine times weren't great under Draco. After him, during his reign, wealth and inequality had gotten out of control, and a ruler came by later named Solon, and Solon reformed the problem. He redistributed the land, he forgave debts, he removed the ability to, listen to this, he removed the ability to use personal freedom as collateral. You could surrender your personal freedom if you failed to pay a debt. And what Solon and his reforms did was he single-handedly paved the way to Athenian democracy, what we now know as Greek democracy. When you hear that, it's hard to argue that it appears that wealth inequality and democracy may not be compatible. But when you think about it, the Caribbean pirates stole from Spain, who themselves had stolen the gold from the Inca and the Aztec and the Maya. So in a way, Spain was also a pirate, just not out on the sea. So in a way, Caribbean pirates were stealing from other pirates. Today, the Somali pirates, the Somalis are some of the poorest people in the entire world, are stealing these giant cruise ships, these giant tankers from some of the richest people in the world. Robin Hood literally stole from the guy who stole his land while he was away fighting the Crusades. Robin Hood forcibly redistributed wealth back to those from which it had been stolen in the first place. Now, I'm not saying that taxation equals theft. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that excess taxation without representation equals theft. Even digital pirates can almost be excused as they steal from some of the wealthiest people on the face of the planet. Piracy for personal gain is a bad thing. It is theft. But piracy as a form of coerced redistribution of wealth has some social benefits. I've heard some people refer to any taxation as piracy. Now, I'm not going there. I believe taxation is a good way to redistribute wealth, but you can see how they are equal or they're the same. As the Greeks told us, allowing too much wealth to pool in the hands of too few gets in the way of democracy itself. So I'll say again, it appears that wealth inequality and democracy may not be compatible. Right now, in these United States, about 1/3 of 1% of our population, 1.2 million people, owns about 33% of the wealth in the country. To put that in some sort of context for you, the largest landowner in the world is the British royal family. And they own about 1/10 of 1% of British wealth. It's not even close. Historically, we know that expanding wealth gaps between the wealthy and the poor undermines social justice by creating disparities in access to resource, opportunities, and power. We also know that this leads to social discontent and weakened trust in public institutions. Just ask the French. In other words, it appears that wealth inequality and democracy may not be compatible. And this is not a new problem. I told you about the Greeks. Right now, our wealth inequality in this country is at a 10-year high, which means you only have to look back 10 years and it was worse. It's existed for a long, long, long time. It's mentioned in the book of Proverbs twice. And the book of Proverbs was written 3,000 years ago. One verse, it says, exploit the poor or glad hand the rich, whichever, you'll end up the poorer for it. And I didn't know what glad hand means. I had to look it up. It means appeasing or being nice for fake reasons. Don't walk on the, here's the second quote from the Proverbs, don't walk on the poor just because they're poor, and don't use your position to crush the weak, because God will come to their defense. The life you took, he will take from you and give back to them. Ooh. We don't hear those quoted all too often in the church, do we? We skip over those two. Islam takes it 3 steps further. Islam has something called the zakat, which is a requirement that you give away 2.5% of your wealth every year, not your income, your wealth. Islam also has a prohibition against charging interest, and interest is a function that allows money to pool with people who already have money. Islam also has a strict inheritance law that prohibited the pooling of wealth upon death. You can't give all your money to just one person when you die in Islam. And the ancient Jews have something called Jubilee, which is Yovel. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, my Jewish friends. Yovel is a special year observed every 50 years where there is no planting, indebted servants are released, and all debts are forgiven. But despite all these warnings embedded in these ancient religions, according to a 2018 academic report, 27% of all the economic growth that's occurred worldwide from 1980 to 2016 accrued to the top 1% in world income distribution. The rich get richer, and we take a step away from democracy. And this happens by design. They're not breaking any laws when they do this. Companies are legally allowed to pay a wage that guarantees people will live in poverty. Companies are allowed to operate working conditions, like we heard in our second song today, working conditions that guarantee frailty amongst their workers. Access to quality health care is allocated to the wealthy instead of to the sick. Split shifts, unemployment at will, expensive daycare, no family leave. It is set up to channel money to the people that already have the money. And every time we do this, we take a step away from the faith of our ancestors. And what do we get in return? The bottom 50% of the United States, which is a lot of people, the bottom 50% of the United States gets scraps and crumbs. Each time the rich get richer, we take another step away from democracy. In other words, it appears that wealth inequality and democracy may not be compatible. Unitarian Universalism asks us to pump the brakes on that path. Unitarian Universalist fifth principle asserts the democratic process for everybody, not just the people who can afford to buy into it. Our values of equity, interdependence, and pluralism are all based in our love and assertion of democracy. 3 of our great saints, Theodore Parker, Martin Luther King, and President Obama, that last one's a bit of a push, but anyway, 3 of our great saints said that the arc of the moral universe points toward justice. Me personally, I find it risky to believe this. Not risky to me, but risky to others. If we want the arc of the moral universe to point toward justice, I say we better bend it just in case they were wrong. The people who stand to benefit from the bending can't bend it. They're too busy working 3 jobs. The pirates bent it. They reached up and they bent the arc. Robin Hood did it, if only fictionally. He reached up and bent the arc. And more currently, the labor union movement did that. I'm not suggesting piracy is a good idea. I'm also not suggesting it's a bad idea. I'm not suggesting that Robin Hoods need to spring up everywhere. I am suggesting that our best hope to bend the arc of the moral universe is to ensure that labor is no longer exploited. I'm going to share an embarrassing story right now. I have crossed one picket line in my life. It was one of the most shameful things I've ever done. I got to my hotel late after canceled flights and delays. I got to my hotel at 2 in the morning, and I pull up in the cab, and there's a picket line in front of the hotel. Where was I supposed to go? It was 2 o'clock. I'd already paid for the room. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know where there was another hotel. It was 20 years ago, and I still remember it. And I still carry that with me as one of the things. You know when they ask you, do you regret anything? It's one of the things that pops into my head. I regret crossing that picket line. I was just so tired, and it was 2 o'clock, and I didn't know where there was another hotel. And I justify it to myself, but I'm still embarrassed by it. Labor and labor unions in this nation carry in them Unitarian Universalist DNA. Or maybe Unitarian Universalists carry labor unions' DNA. Either way, they are our brothers and sisters, cousins and uncles. They need our support, and we need theirs. The broader their reach goes, the closer we get to a nation which actually lives up to its democratic rhetoric. If we continue to allow the wealth gap to increase, if we continue to allow that wealth can buy its way into things like electioneering, we risk becoming a dino nation, democracy in name only. You know, exactly like all those nations that I believe the term we're using these days is shithole countries, whose welfare concerns us so deeply as a nation. We can do better than the subjects of our national contempt, can't we? That's where can't we? We can do better than these countries that we are so trying to help with our wonderful way of doing democracy. Let us hope so. Let us hope that we can start by helping ourselves first. Amen. And we celebrate May Day, a couple days late, but we celebrate May Day and we stand in solidarity with all those who are working. Thank you. Second hymn. Sorry, I should have.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die. We dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone.
So, I just looked down and see that we're 15 minutes early. We'll do a talk back. Yeah, okay, yeah. Because I'm sure that, yeah. I don't know how that happened. We did the same thing we normally do. What was so short about that? We even did 2 extra songs. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's a Christmas miracle. It's a May Day miracle. Sorry. Each time we come together, we move with the words we hear, we move with the music we hear, and we move with the light of our chalice, which, like us, flickers and flutters from side to side, moving constantly, yet tethered to its source. We extinguish our chalice now not as a symbolic ritual, but as a practical ritual. We do this because the flickering, fluttering light of our congregation is carried with each and every one of you here present today, those not here today, those joining us on YouTube. Hello, everybody joining us on YouTube. And for those who left this community long ago, never to return. And for those, of course, who have yet to arrive. I would like to invite Marilyn to come and extinguish our chalice for us. Which she has, way ahead of schedule. Everything seems to be ahead of schedule today. We are so grateful for your presence this morning. Thank you very much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you again. And I leave you with these words. May we, in the course of our week, be able to feel the liberating freedom of this religious path we all share. May our gods welcome us. May they challenge us to live up to our own expectations of ourselves, wherever and whatever those are. And may the world around us light up so that we may seek our way back to clarity and wholeness. And what we'll do is we'll leave, and I'll grab a microphone, and we'll start the talk back. Yeah, that one. Okay, so if you've never been at a talk back at Emerson, it's very simple. If you want to contribute to the conversation or criticize something I said or argue with me, this is the time to do it. You do not have to stay. If you don't care that much, you can just leave and go get coffee. We're doing this probably for 10 or 15 minutes to see where your mind is after that service. So anybody, oh, here are the hands. There we